episode of Conspiracy Decoded. I'm your host, the Juice Man himself, Juice Jennings, aka the Lizard King. And I will be taking it to the lizard people and a lizard person this Saturday night at Props Brewery. Conspiracy Sport Pro is back in action, and the Juice Man is going one-on-one with Lucha Locura. And if you caught my last episode, I went in pretty good detail about how I think he wears the Lucha mask not to honor the history of Lucha Libre wrestling, but to hide the fact that he's a disgusting, scaly, green, horribly disfigured lizard person who lives at the center of the earth. And after re-listening and revisiting my episode the last time, I realized I missed a couple things. I kind of glanced over how I came to that realization. So I thought this deserves its own episode. So this is a follow-up episode to the last one. I'm really going to be diving in, and I'm going to all my extensive research into why I think Lucha Locura is in fact a dirty lizard person. Now, I don't always think he was a lizard person. My theory is that the real Lucha Locura is probably dead somewhere. I think he got eaten alive by the lizard people, and he's out of the equation. But this guy walking around now looking like Lucha Locura is not the real Lucha Locura. And I think the switch happened about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago, because that's when I started to notice a change, okay? Because before, Lucha Locura was a fan favorite. Everyone loved him. He carried himself in a way that the traditional good guys would carry themselves in that way. And the fans loved him. But then, that's when the change happened. That's when we saw Lucha Locura come down with an injury. An injury that actually forced him to hang up the boots and retire from professional wrestling. And I think this is where it happens. I think he actually did retire. The real Lucha did retire. Only to be eaten and digested by lizard people. And then they're wearing his face and his skin and took over his personality. Because he comes back like a month later and he says, guess what, guys? I'm totally fine. Oh, but also, you know what happened in between? This is another part. He retired. And then he was offered a spot as the co-GM of Conspiracy Sport Pro by George Brooms. So he got what he wanted. So actually looking back on it, he was probably a lizard person before he even retired. This was part of the plan, I think. This was like he Game of Thrones his way to the top is what happened. So he faked the injury, got promoted, and then all of a sudden, it's a miracle. He says, I'm back. I'm going to be in the ring again. So now he's the boss, making the matches, but he's also a competitor on the roster? That doesn't make any sense. And he also gets put on The Pit with George Brooms, the official podcast show thing that they talk about all the news within Combat Sport Pro. These guys have their own show. I've been on an episode or two. You should check that out. So now Lucha has the power of the position. He's still an active wrestler, and he's got controlling the flow of information. And anyone knows that when you control the flow of information, you control the minds of the masses. You can form any kind of narrative you want. Now let's look at how he's actually abused that power. He's making matches that benefit him. He's on this show with George Brooms, The Pit, and then they start they pitch out this idea to do a 5-on-5 elimination match at some point, right? Lucha's going to pick one team. George is going to pick the other team. We all know that George picked me. Has his number one picked. No big deal. Whatever. We've talked about this already. But let's talk about who Lucha Locura's first pick was. He had the choice of anyone on the Combat Sport Pro roster. Who did Lucha pick as his first guy? He picked himself. What kind of egomaniac picks himself for his own team when he's got everybody else to pick from? You can pick yourself last. You could save the spot for you and get all the best people first. This guy's a nut job. This guy is an egomaniacal lizard person. And then we go on to the live events and see how he's been acting, okay? We've got the first ever conspiracy crate, which was amazing, but the ref went down at one point. I may have punched him in the face. Whatever. So who comes out? Tries to stick his stupid lizard nose in our business. Puts on the ref stripes and tries to be in the match. Involves himself in our business. It's Lucha Locura between me and El Kachi. He's sticking his nose in our business in our match. And what happens? I think it's inadvertently, he eats a giant kick from El Kachi and he gets knocked out. The match continues. Whatever. And yeah, I got put in the box and I got taken away to Area 51 by aliens. But then what happens later? There's some kind of locker room altercation where Lucha's all like hopped up on his own authority and he gets all in El Kachi's face and he's like, "What are you doing?" And El Kachi's like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, "Hey, don't you walk away from me." So what's this all about? Lucha, why are you so mad? You're the one that stuck your nose in our match and then you just accidentally got kicked in the face and then you want to be all ticked off trying to yell at people in the locker room? What kind of etiquette is that? And then an event later, he's looking to get some kind of revenge on El Kachi. It was a mistake, dude. Get over it. He's calling him out. He doesn't understand that El Kachi has since been abducted by aliens. So Evan, who's never hurt anyone, this kid is just he's just a green bean trying to break into the business, okay? Doing the best he can to be a referee. He went out and he told Lucha that El Kachi he's not here tonight. He got abducted by aliens. So what does he do? What does this evil version of Lucha Locura do? He beats the crap out of Evan. And then he brings out a whole handful of barbecue skewers and sticks them in his head. That's not something a beloved babyface wrestler would ever do. That doesn't make any sense. And now, this egomaniac who has used sinister tactics to get to the very top of Combat Sport Pro. Now he's going after the biggest threat that there is, and that's me. He wants to silence the Juice Man because he knows that I know what he really is. He knows that I'm going to expose him to the masses, and he can't have that. That's why he's going to try to shut me down this Saturday night at Props Brewery. But it ain't going to happen. I've already talked about my extensive training with my intergalactic friends. We've been in the desert. I've been finding myself. I've been confronted with the true reality of this system that we live in, this so-called matrix and simulation, and I have become a master of my own destiny. So Lucha Locura, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'm going to let my actions speak for themselves. This Saturday night, you and I are going head-to-head. I will pin your shoulders to the mat, clean as a sheet. And then, in front of everybody, I'm going to rip that mask off, and I'm going to expose you to be the dirty lizard king that you are. And it ain't going to be a coincidence. It's a conspiracy, Daddy!